Hello, beautiful people. Tamala Ridge here, just making sure that I'm actually live. It says that I'm live. Facebook says that I'm live. Let's hope that's all working. So good morning. For those of you who are joining me live, please leave a little comment below. I'm just going to make sure I can see the comments. Let me just log on to my page. And Tamala Ridge is now live. Awesome. So Karen is here. Hi, Karen. Good morning. Hey, Jody. Hi, gorgeous. Hi, beautiful women. So I'm on. Good. Awesome. So welcome to day one of a 6 series, Facebook Live series on the art of holding space. So today I'm going to be talking about the upper limit and what the upper limit is and why it's actually completely and utterly addictive. It's our biggest addiction. Yeah. For those of you who know me, you know my previous work is as a drug and alcohol counsellor. So I've done 15 years in the industry of addiction. And now I work with my clients around a different type of addiction, a deeper addiction. So in fact, the alcohol, the wine, the comfort eating, they're just symptoms. They're just the expression of our underlying addiction to fear and to our underlying addiction to the stress response in our body. So I'm going to start off there by explaining the stress response and how that relates to our upper limit. Yeah. So if anyone's got any questions, keep popping them in the chat box. If you're here watching the replay, please type any questions into the chat box under #replay, and I'll be sure to come back and answer any questions that you might have along the way. So back to the stress response. So in primitive days, yes, we used our stress response as a form of protection. Yeah, so we would either go into fight, flight, or freeze if danger was coming, if the dinosaur was coming, if the lion was coming. We would use one of those 3 responses in our body to protect ourselves. So we would get a burst of adrenaline and cortisol, and we would either go into fight and we would fight the dinosaur or the tiger, or we would go into flight and we would run a million miles in that direction, or we would go into freeze and we would pretend that we were a tree or a rock and hope that the dinosaur or the lion or the tiger didn't see us. So this response in our body was highly effective, and it helped us to survive. So what's happened in today's society, though, is that everything has become the dinosaur. The to-do list, the parenting, the turning up to work, the toxic food, the toxic environment. Everything has become a stress trigger in our bodies. You know, as soon as we wake up in the morning, the to-do list, the worries, the concerns, the what have I got to do today, they're on. And you know, we could notice that that little clenching, that anxiety. We've had an instant burst of adrenaline, cortisol first thing in the morning because we start thinking about all the things that we need to do today. So what's happening is we are slowly pumping ourselves full of adrenaline and cortisol throughout the entire day. We're drip feeding ourselves the stress response. Yeah. So what happens is we want to escape that. We want to escape that difficult, uncomfortable feeling. So then we reach for the wine at 5 o'clock to go, oh my freaking God, I just need a rest. And wine is a depressant, you know, it's a depressant on the central nervous system. So it actually does turn off the stress and the cortisol for a short amount of time. And that's why wine is so socially acceptable. It works. It does depress our nervous system. But what happens is after we've had that little turn off, what happens after that the next morning or that evening even is the guilt kicks in, the shame, the worry, the concern, the self-loathing, the hangover, the why did I do that? Why did I have one glass and then it ended up into the bottle? And I start to beat myself up, and here comes the stress response again. So what happens is we trigger our stress response through our come down, yeah, through the after the high, we're back into the stress response. So what happens is, what this actually means is that we're more addicted to the come down than we are to the high. And I'm going to get to how this creates an upper limit in yourself and in your clients in just a minute, but this is really, really important. The reason that we're more addicted to the come down than to the high, than to the wine, to the chocolate, the social media scrolling, is because we spend a much longer time in the come down space that we do in the high. So say we have a glass of wine at 5 o'clock, so from 5 till 7, for 2 hours of that day, we're not feeling stressed and we've come down. But the next day, we might be worrying about that, the fact that we drank a whole bottle for the whole day, for the next day, for the whole week. So we're spending self-loathing, guilt, shame, disappointment and frustration with ourselves for like a week, and we've only had the high for like 2 hours. Every time you have a negative thought, every time you have an inner critic, a self-loathing, a disappointment, a worry, a concern, a frustration, a beating yourself up, you produce a tiny amount of adrenaline and cortisol throughout your body. So again, the come down feeds the stress response. So how does this relate to an upper limit in yourself and in your clients? And the reason that I started this Facebook Live series is because those of you, and myself included, who are coaches, healers, practitioners, who are in the healing services, and you're noticing that your clients are having upper limits, and you might come up with a fantastic action plan, you know, you've had this awesome session in the moment, it's freaking amazing, come back to the next session and they haven't really done anything. There hasn't been a really fantastic shift, there's been no movement. And so there's a frustration with us as practitioners, like how come, why is this happening? How come this person keeps sabotaging themselves? How come in the moment we're feeling really high and we're on fire and we're coming up with all these amazing ideas, but there's no follow through. They've hit an upper limit, they've self-sabotaged, they're procrastinating, they're denying, they're avoiding. How come? Yeah. So I'm just quickly going to check if there's any questions. Someone's nodding. Emma Turton's watching. Hello, Serena's watching. Oh my gosh. Hi, gorgeous peeps. So what I want to do now is I'm just going to share my screen. So you just have to excuse my looking around the back of my computer because my computer has, my computer's not doing too well. So I've got 2 screens here. So here we have a little, but I hope that you guys can hear me because I haven't got my earphones in. So here we have I'm hoping you can all see this. Maybe just pop in the chat box if you can see this big crazy slide for me, if you can see it. This is a picture of a cell. And this picture depicts how our cells absorb adrenaline and cortisol. So let's say hormone A is adrenaline, and let's say hormone B is our love drug, is oxytocin, is something really nourishing and beautiful and relaxing, like, you know, the hormones that we want in our body. We can hear and see the screen. Thank you, Karen. Can you hear my neighbour who's just started up a chainsaw? That was handy timing. Hope it's not too loud for you. So what happens in our cell is that we have receptor sites. So we have particular shaped receptor sites to receive particular shaped hormones. So let's say that hormone A is adrenaline, and the little pink inverted triangles around the cell are the receptor sites for adrenaline. And as you can see on the other side, hormone B is oxytocin, but there's not too many, well, there's none on this slide, there's not too many receptor sites to receive the oxytocin. So what happens when we're constantly feeding ourselves adrenaline and cortisol throughout the day with our worrisome thinking, with our to-do list, with our parenting, with our stress, with our driving, with the traffic, with the negative thoughts, with the inner critic, we're slowly drip feeding ourselves adrenaline and cortisol all day long. What's going to happen is supply creates demand. So we're going to grow more receptor sites on our cells to receive adrenaline. And what's going to happen is the oxytocin receptor sites, our love drug, our happy hormones for oxytocin, are going to die off. So what happens is we are actually, as a stressful society, changing the makeup of our cells to become addicted to adrenaline and cortisol. Because what happens is when we do have a really lovely day, we've had a great session with our coach, with our practitioner, with our healer, and we've got all of these fantastic ideas and we're pumped full of oxytocin. We're connected, we're on fire, we're positive, we've turned off the stress response and we start feeding ourselves some oxytocin. We might go away with all of these action plans in our head. We've written our to-do list of all the things we have to do, but our cells will go, oh, that felt really nice for that, hour-long session. That's awesome. But I'm not actually hungry for oxytocin. And the little receptor sites for the oxytocin have been fed, but the 92% of my cell that's made up of receptor sites for oxytocin and adrenaline, they're now hungry. And so our cells and our bodies are incredibly intelligent beings. So what will happen is the little cell who's hungry for adrenaline and cortisol will send a little message to the brain and go, do not do that really good idea. Do not, because if you do, I'm not going to get fed adrenaline and cortisol, and that's what I'm really hungry for. So our mind is going to come up with excuses, with procrastination, with denial. Our to-do list with all of the other stressful things is going to end up at the top of the pile, and the to-do list of all of the fun, connected, soul-nourishing, amazing things that I know that I should be doing to feel good are going to end up at the bottom of the list. And I'm going to listen to that because it's going to be powerful, it's going to be overwhelming, it's going to be at the forefront of my mind not to do any of these things, because energetically and physiologically, I need to feed my cells adrenaline and cortisol because I'm addicted to it, because my cells are addicted to it, because my cells are made up of receptor sites that are hungry for adrenaline and cortisol. Herein lies the upper limit, yeah? I'm just going to check if anyone has asked me any questions, because, hey Angela, hey Kate, hey Annie, hey beautiful people, hit me up with some questions, guys. Is this new to you? I know some of you this is not new to you, you've heard this before, but does this help to explain the upper limit? Does this help to explain your own upper limit, your own self-sabotaging behaviors, the own reason why you know all the really good things you need to do? Going to yoga, going for a walk along the beach, decluttering your home, turning up to all of these wonderful activities, and somehow we're just not doing it because we think that all of these other crazy adrenaline and cortisol producing to-do lists are way more important. So consciously, we know that's not true, but subconsciously, that's what we're going to act upon. Sorry, I'm looking over here because my screen's over here. So our conscious mind rules us 5% of the time. Our subconscious is where this process is happening, and our subconscious rules our consciousness 95% of the time. So consciously, we might get up in the morning and go, oh my God, I really need to go to yoga. That's what I totally, absolutely want to do. But the subconscious will come up and give us all of the excuses not to do it so that our cells get fed adrenaline and cortisol. And this is what's happening with you personally. This is also what's happening with your clients. Those clients who you have the most amazing sessions with, it's all good. You're thinking, whoa, we've struck gold, we've hit on epiphanies, we've got the most perfect action plan, and then we come back next week and not much has changed. This is why. Because we are addicted to adrenaline and cortisol. We are addicted to stress. We are addicted to our fear. We are addicted to the upper limit. Yeah? Any questions, guys? Hit me up. So this is the first Facebook Live in the 6 series. Yeah, I'm not going to go into too much now about where to go from here because I'm going to do that tomorrow. Tomorrow evening, I think, is the next one. 6 o'clock tomorrow night, Australian Western Standard Time, 9 o'clock Australian Eastern Daylight Time. But what I will say from here, not to leave you hanging, is that the answer to this problem is that we need to start recalibrating the makeup of our cells. And this is entirely possible. What we want to do and what we want to get your clients to do is to become more addicted to oxytocin, to love, to the love drug, to the connecting drug, than to adrenaline and cortisol. And this is entirely possible. Hey, if we can get addicted to stress, we can get equally as addicted to love and to oxytocin. And a lot of people think that addiction is a dirty word, like, ooh, but you know what, guys, we're hardwired to become addicted to things, yeah, for our survival. So for those of you who potentially have breastfed your child, I know some of you have, some of you haven't, but have you ever tried to wean a baby off a boob? Seriously, that baby is an oxytocin crack addict. That when we are breastfeeding, we're producing oxytocin. It's the love drug. It's the connection drug. It's what creates our bonds in life. It's what puts us in a space of heaven, connection and love. And the baby's producing oxytocin, you're producing oxytocin. There's warmth, there's connection, there's nourishment, there's sweet milk, there's absolute heaven. And if you ever try to wean your baby away from that, you've got an oxytocin addict. Yeah, that baby is totally addicted to the love drug. And we can all do that as a society. We can continue to do that. It's just that we've lost focus. It's just that our society has become so damn stressful. It's that the media is pumping us full of fear that, the world is going to end, that everything is bad, bad, bad. And it feeds and feeds and feeds this fear response in us. So it is entirely possible to become more addicted to oxytocin. So very, very briefly, the 4 strategies that I use to support my clients to become more addicted to oxytocin are the 4 connection strategies. So connection to self, connection to others, connection to earth, and connection to spirit. There ain't no come down from those activities, because in order to get addicted to oxytocin, we want to have a high, happy feeling that doesn't have a come down. So the highs and the happies that we get from our wine, from our comfort eating, from our social media, the scrolling, they do give us a high, yes, but they have a come down, which is, the truth of our addiction. So, and let me just pause there just for a moment. Let me bring procrastination into that example so that it explains to you another upper limit. So procrastination, yeah, we're all guilty of that. So what happens when we procrastinate is we know that if we're going to do this item on our to-do list, that we're going to feel good and we're going to produce some oxytocin. So the cell says, no, I need adrenaline. So we put it off and 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 we put it off. And so when we put it off, we're increasing our adrenaline. We're fearful. We're getting pumped full of adrenaline. And people say, and I've said this myself, I do my best work last minute. And it's because I'm so pumped full of adrenaline, the final hour, I'm sitting down doing this like report or this Facebook Live or this copy or this whatever I'm doing. And I think my story is telling me that I do my best work at the last minute. So I continue with that pattern. It's actually not true. When we do our last minute final hour report, when you're pumped full of adrenaline and cortisol, your logical brain is shut down and you're in fight or flight mode and you're not doing your best work then. Imagine doing your copy, your report, your to-do list when you're pumped full of oxytocin and you are connected and in alignment and intuitive. So what happens with procrastination though, after we've procrastinated and we've done it at the last minute, we're going to have the come down. We're going to go, why did I do that to myself? I am utterly, utterly exhausted now. So I'm going to feel self-loathing. I'm going to feel guilt. I'm going to feel disappointment. I'm going to feel annoyance with myself. I'm going to feel stressed. I'm going to worry, did I do a good enough job? And here I am in my come down after the procrastination, totally addicted to that, addicted to the self-loathing and the inner critic. Yeah. So this is how it all starts to play out. So what we want to do, like I said before, is get addicted to the oxytocin, connection to self, connection to others, connection to earth, connection to spirit. This is where the work needs to lie. Anything that you can do to connect to self, meditation, yoga, spending time alone, having a massage, going for a walk along the beach, being in the present moment is connection to self. Mindfulness, connection to self, will produce oxytocin. Connection to others, beautiful, intimate conversations, really good sex, catching up with friends for a cup of tea, rumbling with your children, playing, anything that can connect with each other on an intimate level will produce oxytocin. Connection to earth, getting outside with your bare feet on the ground, spending time in nature, going for a swim in the ocean, grounding, lying on the dirt, spending time with a tree, sitting on a rock, being present in the moment with Mother Nature will produce oxytocin. Connection to spirit. You know, whatever it is that is spirit for you, spending time in prayer, in contemplation, communing, opening up to your intuition, talking to God, to spirit, asking for guidance, you know, whatever it is that you find a connection to spirit, that will produce oxytocin. So the more that you do these things, the more that you support your clients to do these things, the more that you are going to recalibrate the makeup of your cells, the oxytocin and the adrenaline receptor sites will dry off. You will grow more receptor sites to oxytocin the more you do these activities, and therefore you can become more addicted to love and less addicted to stress, adrenaline, and cortisol. Yeah. Hello, beautiful Katie. Hello, Jeannie. Hi, gorgeous people. Let me know if you've got any questions. This is big stuff. If you haven't heard this before, it's mind-blowing, it's challenging, it's totally turns addictions on its head. We are more addicted to the come down than we are to the high. Our cells are totally physiologically changing to become addicted to stress, but it is entirely possible to change this process and become more addicted to love. Stress equals hell, oxytocin equals love. It's my belief and my understanding that heaven and hell aren't places that you go when you die. Everything is in the moment. Everything is now. The future doesn't exist. The past doesn't exist. They're an illusion. They only exist in our minds with our fearful, worrisome thinking, through our stressful thinking. The only thing that exists is right now. Therefore, heaven and hell must exist right here. And you have a choice as to whether you want to live in hell through your stressful thinking, through your addiction to stress, or you want to live in heaven and you want to create more opportunities in your life to be in the present moment producing oxytocin. Entirely possible. All right, my loves, I'm going to leave it there. It's a lot of information and we've got a lot more to go through over the next couple of weeks. So tomorrow I'm going to go through the spiral of ascension. So today we've talked about the upper limit, and the upper limit keeps us in this flat circle. We do some work, we feel great, we come back to the same point. We do some work, we feel great, we come back to the same point because we're addicted to stress and the upper limit. Tomorrow I'm going to talk to you about the spiral of ascension. How do we do this work and move upwards? How do we do this work and ascend? How do we do this work and bust through? Every time we go through a circle and bust through an upper limit, we're going to be at this level. And then we bust through another upper limit and we're going to be at this level. There are other tools and strategies that we need to bring into place to keep us ascending, to keep moving through your upper limits, through your self-sabotaging behavior, through your health issues. We need to keep moving up. So tomorrow evening is going to be all about the spiral of ascension and the 3 most powerful and sacred tools for yourself and for your clients to keep ascending and moving through and transforming and resolving and moving closer to heaven and further away from hell. So I invite you to join me tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Australian Western Standard Time, which is 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time or 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. I'm also going to announce that I have a 6-month mentorship program called the Soul Connection Mentorship Program, which is beginning at the end of January in the next 2 weeks. And this mentorship program is a mentorship program for practitioners. It's teaching you everything that I know, everything that I've learned through my experience as an addictions counsellor, and bringing this into strategy, to coaching, to counselling, to support, to healing yourself and your clients through this process of upper limit. The program is designed to be personal development, professional development, and spiritual development. So first and foremost, we go through this process for yourself. You can't take anyone past where you're at. So we've got to do this work on ourselves. The professional development is learning all of these tools and strategies, and I'm going to go through most of them tomorrow night. You also get full EFT qualifications. You can become an EFT practitioner, tapping practitioner. And it's also spiritual development. Spiritual development is all about finding more heaven in your life, less hell. So if anyone's interested in learning more about this process, I invite you to jump on a free 30-minute clarity call with me. Absolutely no obligation, but I would love to take you through the program, give you some more details about it, and see whether this is a really good fit for you for the next 6 months. If you would like your practice, your coaching practice to take off, if you want to stand out above the growing sea of light workers, healers, practitioners with these really, really profound tools, I invite you to jump on a call with me and I can take you through the program, see if it's a good fit for you. So I'll pop a link into the comments below to book in for a call with me, and I hope to see some or all of you tomorrow night. If you are watching the replay, please continue to type any questions into the comments below and I'll be sure to come back and answer them. All right, my loves, have an absolutely gorgeous and beautiful day, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.